Hi everyone, so today we are starting our new unit, okay? So our unit is a quadratics unit, so before we go on break, what we're going to do is we're just going to define some terms, okay? So my first thing that we're going to ask is what is a quadratic function? Because that's what the basis of our unit is on. So a quadratic function is a polynomial, okay, where the highest degree is 2. The highest degree is 2. And what a degree is, so example, this is your degree. So whatever your exponent is your degree. Okay, so when we're looking at a quadratic function, we need to see our highest degree or our highest exponent be a 2. Okay? All right, so my next question is, what is the curve of a quadratic function called? Now, there's a line there for you guys to put it, but I can't fit it under there. So I'm going to go ahead and just write it under. So what the curve of a quadratic function is called is a parabola. P-A-R-A-B-O-L-A. Okay, it's a parabola. And what does the quadratic function look like? So a parabola looks like this, okay? Or it could be facing downwards, okay? So that's what a parabola looks like. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to define some things, okay? So the first thing we're going to define is a vertex. A vertex is the turning point of the parabola, okay? So I will show you. This would be our vertex, or this would be our vertex. Okay, it could be also defined as the minimum or the maximum. So the minimum or maximum. So that's the highest or the lowest point of the graph. And lastly, the vertex is written as an ordered pair. So these are all the important facts that we needed to know. Written as ordered pair. And we know that an ordered pair is x, comma, y. Okay? I'm going to write the next one a different color so you can see the change, okay? So my axis of symmetry is a vertical line that goes through, I'm going to move it over, that goes through the vertex and splits the parabola in half, okay? And splits the parabola in half, okay? And when we write the axis of symmetry, it's in the form of x equals, okay? X equals, and it's going to be a number there. So now we don't have an ordered pair, we just have x equals something, okay? The next is our X-Intercepts. So when we define our X-Intercepts is as the points where y is 0, okay? So wherever we have a y equals 0, that is where we have our X-Intercepts, okay? We could also define this as points that cross the x-axis, okay? Remember, our x-axis is left to right, okay? These are called as 3 different things. So these are also known as zeros. So we will use these interchangeable terms and solutions. Okay, so when we're going over this unit, you may hear zeros, you may hear x-intercepts, you may hear solutions. It's important to know that they all mean the same thing. Okay, and the last thing is that it's written in x, comma, 0. So your number will go where x is, and it's always 0 in your y. Okay, now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go to our y-intercepts. Okay, so my y-intercept is where the points where, now it's just the opposite, x equals 0. Okay, and here is points that cross the y-axis, okay? So it's just the opposite. Here, we could be written in the form, okay, written in the form of 0, comma, y, where your number will go where the y is. X will always be 0, okay? The last one is your symmetric point, okay? A symmetric point is 2 points that are equidistant from the AOS, other words known as axis of symmetry. So here goes 2 points that are equidistant. The word equidistant, all that means is the same amount of distance, okay? Equidistant from the axis of symmetry, okay? All right, now this part is super important, okay? Being able to label a parabola is super, super important, okay? So we're going to go down the chart. So the first thing we have is a vertex, okay? And that's the turning point of the parabola, which is right here. So in this box, we are going to label vertex, okay? Now we have the axis of symmetry. Okay, and that's the vertical line that goes through the vertex and splits the parabola. This would be your axis of symmetry, okay? I'm going to hyphenate, it's just AOS. Okay, then we have our, let's see, we have our X-Intercepts. Okay, so this is where my X-Intercepts are where the points where y equals 0, or the points that cross the x-axis. So in this case, we have two. We have one here, and we have one here. Okay, so this becomes our X-Intercepts, and we can abbreviate that INTS. Okay, so those are our two. Then we have our Y-intercepts, okay? So this is where our x equals 0. Here, be careful. We only have one here, okay? This is our only y-intercept because this is when x equals 0, okay? That means the last point would be our symmetric point, okay? So here we can write symmetric point. And that's because it's the same distance to the axis of symmetry, okay? So the same distance from this point and from this point. Okay, now we're going to look at a few quadratic functions and we're going to graph a few. Okay, so I'm going to turn to the next. So this is where we are going to graph and we're going to look at our vertex and our axis of symmetry. Okay, so with these points, all we're going to do is going to be graphing all of these points here, and then we're going to figure out our vertex and we're going to figure out our axis of symmetry. Okay, so my first point is 0, 6. So over 0, up 6. Then we're going to go to 1, 0. Over 1, down or up 0. Then we're going to go to 4, negative 6. So we're going to go right 4, down 6. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make these points a little bigger for you guys. Then we're going to go 6, 0. So that's right 6, up or down 0. Then we're going to go 7, over 7 to the right 7, up 6. Now we need to make this a smooth graph, okay? What's important is that it's smooth. I understand that sometimes it will be hard to draw, okay? I just don't want it to look like this. It needs to be something smoother to make the parabola, okay? And what we learned that our vertex is our minimum point, or where the point turns, okay? So in this case, this is where my point turns. So my vertex is this point. So when I come over here to write the vertex, I'm going to write 4, negative 6. Okay? Then we need to work on our axis of symmetry. Our axis of symmetry is the line that splits the parabola in half, or that is right in the middle of the vertex. Okay? So we go on the point of the vertex and draw a line up and down. Okay? In this case, my axis of symmetry is x equals 4. Okay, then we're going to go on and do the next one. So I'm going to graph negative 2, 2. So to the left 2, up 2. Then I'm going to go to the left 1, down 1. Then I'm going to say 0, down 2. Then I'm going to go 0, 1, down 1. Then right 2, up 2. Now, important to remember, draw a smooth graph, okay? A smooth graph. So now we need to find our vertex. So remember, once again, our vertex is our turning point. So here is my turning point. This is the minimum, okay? And this point is 0, comma, -2. So this is my vertex, okay? You're going to see a pattern here. Now I need to do my axis of symmetry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line in a different color, right on vertical line right on where the vertex is, okay? Here, my point is x equals 0. So my axis of symmetry is cutting my parabola in half right on top of my vertex. And in this case, it's 0. Okay? Then we're going to go ahead and do this last one. So I'm going to go ahead and graph. We're going to go over 3 to the left, up or down 0. Okay? Then we're going to go -2, up 3. Then we're going to go -1, up 4. Then 0, 3. And 1, 0. Okay? Again, remember, smooth graph. Okay? It should look something like this. I know it's very hard to draw. Okay? So just make it look something like this. But once again, it should not look like this or this. There should be no pointy edges. Okay? Then we're going to come label my vertex. So remember where my turning point is. In this, it's a maximum point. Okay? What is this point? -1, 4. So my vertex is -1, comma 4. Okay? Then I need to go ahead and find my axis of symmetry. Remember, we're drawing a line vertically on my vertex. Okay? And wherever you're drawing that line is what your axis of symmetry is going to be. So in this case, my axis of symmetry is x equals -1. Okay? Now, what I want you guys to notice here is every time we look at my axis of symmetry, okay, so my x equals 4, my x equals 0, my x equals -1, it is always the x value of my vertex. Okay, so I'm going to write down here my AOS equals the x value of my vertex. So that's important to remember. Okay, so this is the lesson. We're going to go on and I will show you guys some examples that you're going to do on your own. Okay?